To Wednesday morning's Good Morning Scotland with Hayley Miller and Gary Robertson. So all eyes will be on France later as MPs in Paris discuss the possibility of military action in Syria. There'll be a debate at an emergency session of the National Assembly, but no vote on the issue. President Francois Hollande, who's preparing to back the US on intervention, doesn't need legislative approval to do so. Here's what a couple of people in the streets of Paris had to say about possible French action.
I think that France should act because we can't let people in Syria just like this. We have to act, really.
Personally, I think they shouldn't, because every time European countries intervene in that kind of conflict, it was a total disaster.
Well, we can speak now to the French Socialist MP Axelle Lemaire, who represents expat French in the Northern Europe constituency. She's based in London, but is in Paris this morning ahead of the debate. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Just explain, first of all, the situation with your constituency. How come you're based in London but a French MP?
It is complicated to understand. There was a reform of the constitution that took place in 2008, and 11 new constituencies were created to represent the 2.5 million French people who now live abroad.
OK, and in terms of this debate you'll be taking part in today, it's only a debate. There's no prospect of a vote just yet. Would you like to see yourself and colleagues being able to have a vote on this issue?
You're right to say just yet, because the French president mentioned yesterday that a vote wasn't excluded. So according to the terms of the constitution, he's not obliged to organise neither a debate nor a vote, and he's not bound by the decision of Parliament. What the Constitution, again, says exactly is in case of military intervention, the President decides. This can be debated in Parliament, but it is not followed by a vote. But then the Constitution was drafted in 1958, and I do personally think that institutions have to evolve, and the democratic expectations are probably higher than they used to be. So I'm personally in favour of a vote, but what is important for the moment is to build up a consensus in order to increase the democratic legitimacy of an intervention.
But it sounds as if President Hollande, like President Obama, is under pressure from within his own party to hold this vote, that there is some opposition to engagement in Syria, isn't there?
There is indeed, which is why the intelligence services published a series of declassified documents 2 days ago in order to show to the French people why there are legitimate reasons to intervene on humanitarian grounds. So this is why we will have that debate this afternoon. It is a first step. The second one is have that discussion at the international level, and the next G20 summit will probably be very important in that regard, but also the parallel meetings between foreign affairs ministers and defense ministers that will take place in Vilnius later this week. So the idea is to discuss, to debate, to try to convince in order to build a consensus around the necessity to intervene. It is not acceptable that in the 21st century a dictator voluntarily uses chemical weapons to kill its own population.
And I guess the issue in France, as in other countries, will be this issue of proof being required before any action is taken. I see just a recent poll in a French newspaper that showed fewer than a fifth of French people actually expressed any concern at the lack of clear evidence that it was indeed the Syrian government behind the chemical weapons strike. What's your view of this onus of proof? Would you like to see proof and certainty before anything would happen?
Well, I've gone through all the documents that were sent to MPs yesterday. I must say the fact that the zones that received the weapons are controlled by the opposition, that the bombs were sent on the west front in order for the wind to cover the eastern part of all those zones. The fact that it's now absolutely certain that that chemical weapons were used, and that there's a series of indications.
Oh, well, we seem to have just lost the line there, but I'm sure we got the gist of what Axelle Lemaire was saying there. She's a French socialist MP. That